This is a long one and you won't want to miss the update. My girlfriend, 23, female, and I, 25, male, have been dating for a little under a year now. We met 3 years ago when she was in college and I was spending the summer with a relative in the same city as her. We met on a dating app, went on a date, and started hooking up. I thought she was a sweet girl and very cute, but nothing else ever happened because a week after she started classes again, she told me she was seriously talking to someone. I left for grad school and so we didn't speak again. Had each other on Instagram though until about a year ago when she ended up going to grad school at the same institution. I saw on Instagram that she was here, slid into her DMs, and then we started dating. I thought she showed pretty much every green flag I could ever imagine. She has lots of friends she's really close to her family, volunteers, has lots of hobbies, and is academically and professionally successful. She's so incredibly sweet and considerate. For example, my birthday was just a month after we started dating, and yet she still got me a perfect gift. She is pretty much beloved everywhere she goes. Her colleagues love her, my friends love her, my family love her. I also want to emphasize how not mean-spirited she is. I've definitely dated girls before who were bitchy towards people around them, but my GF is nothing at all like that. The only times I've heard her talk badly about people, it's like she's in a stand-up comedy special. It's all humor, nothing mean. And she never gets into arguments with her friends or family and is pretty much on good terms with everyone she's ever met. Anyways, today, she was working on her computer and left for the gym. For some reason, she left it on. I think she had some research thing running. It was on the kitchen counter, so I had to move it, and I saw a Google Drive folder shared with a bunch of people that was actually titled Smoke Darts, Eat Farts, Super Duper, Secret Edition. I know I should absolutely not have looked, but my curiosity got the better of me. Basically, it was a folder shared with her friend group from college, which is about 10 girls and super close. There were a lot of subfolders. The first one I looked at had homework keys and back exams from their classes. Then I looked at a document that was titled, Bitches Love Being Out of Pocket. It was massive, like 100 pages, and there were subheadings for different topics. It seemed like a collection of out-of-pocket things any of them had said. Each one was cited with the name of which one of them had said it. As I was scrolling through, I saw my name under a subheading, Men. Here's what it said. Paraphrased. 1. He seems like the kind of man to purchase LinkedIn Premium. 2. I feel like he jerks off to his own Instagram stories. 3. There's no way that at least once in his life he hasn't removed a bitch's tampon with his teeth. They were all signed with my girlfriend's name. I'd felt bad about snooping until then, but after that I really wanted to see if there was anything else about me. I looked through the rest of that file and there were insults about basically everyone they'd ever met, including about every man my GF had ever been with. Honestly, mine were way less mean than theirs. I guess that's a positive. There was also a folder with presentations it seemed like my GF had made and presented before each semester in college. They were all titled something like Roster or Da Hose and the date, and they had a slide for every man she was talking to, as well as a recap for whoever she'd done over break. Of course I was there, with my full name and pics of me and a picture of my freaking car too. The only description of me was 6/10, bought me cigs and let me use a flavored condom. There were also a lot of pics and videos of them doing illegal, disgusting things, and there were some very mean things about other men they knew, like ranking them on the fuck-ass loser scale. The only other thing I saw about me was in a folder titled Life-Changing Moments that had a list for each of them. There were a lot of insane things in my GFS that I'd never heard about. Think chlamydia from unprotected sex with a frat brother, or a Vespa ride with a sexy Italian man, or smoked a pack and threw up. There was also one about me which basically said fricked underscore and realized I needed to get out of my hoe era if I didn't want to end up being a sad sack of poop too. That is the one that really got me, as it seemed so much meaner than everything else, and I have no idea what she meant by it. It was getting close to the time she would be back though, so I just closed everything and locked her laptop. She got back. I didn't mention anything, and we just had dinner as normal. I'm here now because I have absolutely no idea what to do. Everything I saw was honestly awful, And yet, she is the last person I would ever expect something like this from. I am in disbelief, and I really don't know where to go from here. I am hoping there is some explanation that doesn't make her the world's worst person, and yet I really don't want to confront her either. We have a great thing going, and I don't see any way that confronting her isn't going to lead to drama. I don't want to talk to anyone I know about this, in case we stay together and she then has to face them, so I thought I would ask here and see if anyone had any reason to apply to this completely absurd situation. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Please start trolling her. Upgrade to LinkedIn Premium and make sure you tell her about it. Comment 2. Who has time and energy to make and organize 100+ pages of mean-spirited horseshit just to build camaraderie, and camaraderie with other mean-spirited people who don't like you anyway? Then the original poster responded with, she's known those girls for 5 years, so I guess it's just 20 pages a year, ha 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 ha. Also, there was stuff not about people too, like stuff about their college and clubs they were in. Not defending it, obviously. Comment 2. I'm going to come at this from a different perspective. None of this is that big of a deal. The folders, files, organizing thing is incredibly odd to me, but I don't really think anything that was said is that crazy or bad. Friends say stuff among friends that can be misinterpreted or sound horrible out of context, but within the language of friends, it's often light-hearted roasting said with love. Her saying that sleeping with you meant she had to leave her home phase sounds like a good thing to me. Like, I need to step up and commit to this good man or I'm going to be miserable. You can definitely leave her if you want, obviously. To me, it just sounds like she and her friends like to try to make each other laugh and are maybe a little harsh, but not even that bad. Like the LinkedIn jokes and stuff sound like pretty tame roasting. It's not like she said, this guy is pathetic and I'm just using him or something. It's worth mentioning, this was private and you looked through her private things. That's not really cool. The ends don't justify the means in this case. She wasn't cheating or doing anything really, just being stupid with her friends. Comment 3. I would be humiliated if my partner said these things about me. Now for the update. And if you're enjoying the video, hit that like button. So my original post got a lot more attention than I thought it would, but it seemed like you were all invested, so I decided to update. The responses on that post were very mixed, but they gave me a lot to think about. I did some reflection and realized that her tone didn't really seem to be much meaner than the jokes she usually makes about people. The ones about me in particular I realized were actually hilarious, like I kept cracking up about the LinkedIn one, and they were honestly entirely accurate too. What I was honestly really bothered about was that I was included and I pretty much wanted to know if she actually liked me or was just settling. I knew about her home phase before, so I wasn't that upset about it either, and I felt like it wasn't my place to say anything about that. I decided that I needed to confront her because the situation was upsetting me a lot. I decided that I was going to ask her about the 610 rating because it honestly hurt my pride a lot, ha ha ha. B. Ask her about the sad sack of poop comment because that was the one that seemed meanest, and C. Ask her in general if she actually wanted to be with me. It would also have been a deal breaker if she kept updating the document with stuff about me after we'd started dating, or if she had any really unacceptable stuff on people, like revenge porn. Unlike what a lot of people said, I did not think she was going to Ted Bundy me while I slept. I've seen her in plenty of high-stress situations, and I have never thought she was going to commit homicide, and I'm also not that afraid of a 5'3" girl. I also didn't think it was right to not say anything, as I knew it was going to continue bothering me. That said, I did realize that I wanted to frick with her a bit. I've never met anyone who takes it better than her. Like any time I've seen people making jokes about her, she takes it very well and enjoys it, so I didn't think it would upset her too much. The day after I made my post, we didn't see each other until dinner. I'd been a bit weird all day over text, but she didn't think much of it and just asked me if I was okay. I devised my plan at this point, so over dinner I dropped that I was considering buying a LinkedIn Plus subscription for networking. She gave me a side eye like I have never seen before and asked me why on earth I would do that. I saw her later texting her group chat. I didn't see what, but I was pretty sure it was about that. That night, we were trying out something new in the bedroom, and as we were cuddling after, I asked her if she was open to something when she was on her period. She asked me what, and I asked if I could take her tampon out with my teeth, as I'd seen a lot on TikTok about it. She looked like she was actually going to scream but held it in and said sure. The next day, she seemed suspicious, so I decided to really finish it off. She went to work and I had the day off, so I decided to really go to town on my Instagram story. Some of you thought that the Instagram story comment meant I posted pics of myself on there, but I actually just posted a lot of aesthetic pictures that I do spend a lot of time taking. I think that comment in her doc was probably because on our first date, I took some pics for my Instagram story and she said something like, "Oh yeah, I like those." And I said, "Hey, they're not really good enough." And she laughed at me even at the time. So anyways, that day I roamed around the city to all my favorite aesthetic spots and posted probably 10 or so stories, which I imagine annoyed everyone a lot. She slid up on them, and by the 10th one she said, "Damn, you're really going to fricking town on these today." So I replied something like, "Haha, yeah, it gets me in the mood, you know," to which she replied with the confused face emoji. At this point, I think she'd caught on, and I had honestly been acting a bit off too because my pride was still a little bruised, and I was also regretting having snooped. That night, she came to my place with my favorite dinner and subtly, for her, asked me if there was anything I wanted to talk about. At this point, I laid it out for her, and I prefaced it with apologizing for snooping, but that the title of the document had caught my eye. She looked absolutely mortified, but was also laughing and kept apologizing. I laid out my 3 concerns to her, and she told me that A, the 6 tenths was truthful at the time, but she did like me a lot, as evidenced by dating me. B, the sad sack of poop comment was about all the people she knew who only hopped around and never had real relationships, and that sleeping with me made her realize that she would much prefer to be in a relationship with someone like me, but that she thought she'd squandered her chances by hooking up with me instead. And that C, yes, obviously she loved and liked and respected me a lot. She also invited me to look through the folder freely, and that she wasn't ashamed of anything in there, just embarrassed that I'd seen those comments about myself. I checked and there was nothing in there about me since we'd started dating. The only stuff was from when we'd hooked up. She also pointed out a document that I hadn't looked at before. It was in a folder titled Rankings, and each girl had a doc in there. She only let me look at hers, but it was basically a ranking of every person she'd ever been involved with in any way. It was a long document, with comments. I was first, and where for everyone else there was a list of pros and cons, mine just said, "Love him forever." Also, it seemed like they would all comment on each other to argue about the ranking. Like, some of them had things like, "No, he was sexy, move him up." But mine just had comments from all the girls pretty much affirming the choice and praising me. So I was pretty satisfied with what I saw, and it also seems like they only update it now with stories, gossip, or pictures, and no insults or anything else like that. My GF was overall mortified and extremely apologetic, and I was also apologetic about looking through it, and told her she could look through anything I owned if she wanted, but she turned me down. She wasn't upset about the snooping at all, and said that she had nothing to hide and that she would have done the same thing if she'd seen a folder as artfully and intriguingly named as theirs. So, yeah, we are all good. Thank you to everyone who commented and gave me some perspective. Perhaps I'll update next month if she lets me take her tampon out with my teeth. Also, I'm glad you all found her humor entertaining. She is definitely very funny, and if you want some of the other roasts I saw, I can share them in the comments. I didn't tell her that Reddit loved them, as 1, her ego doesn't need to be stroked anymore, and 2, she probably would have been upset about me posting this on Reddit. Also, she probably would have been disappointed about me not coming up with the plan to drop the comments to her on my own. And I knew she wouldn't see any of these, because in her typical style, she once told me that she didn't go on Reddit because she was afraid social ineptitude was contagious, and that if I ever saw her on Reddit for non-work reasons, to take her out back and shoot her in the head. Now, for the final comments. Comment 1. Damn, bro. Really glad you didn't listen to the Reddit virgins. You have a good thing going, and while this mistake on both of your parts clearly needed to be sorted out, I'm glad you sorted it out instead of cutting and running. Comment 2. Expected a disaster when I read, "I decided to frick with her," but glad to see that it played out pretty humorously and lighthearted. Comment 3. This girl and her friends sound horrible. immature, and sad. If there were a group of men that did the same thing, you people would be having a field day at saying how horrible and misogynistic they were. Comment 4. She has a folder with rankings? That's weird and creepy. Thanks for watching. This comment section was very divided, so let me know what you think in the comments. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. See you next time.